Welcome to the NBA Hangout presented by Playbook Sports. I'm your host, Brandon. With me, as always, is Dave. Dave, how are you?
Man, I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing great. Just hanging out. We're almost into the NBA season. We're still in the preseason. Last couple games finishing up. We have some news that we could talk about this week. We have the De'Aaron Fox extension that was not happened. We have that. We have Sixers and some injuries, and then we can get into our award predictions for the NBA season: Rookie of the Year, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and all that fun stuff. How was your time and how was your last week since we last spoke?
Yeah, it was good. I watched some preseason ball. You can tell that it's preseason ball. Like half the team plays, and the other half of the team you haven't heard their name before. You're like, oh, I
That
wonder
guy's
if this guy will make the team. They won't, but it's nice to have basketball back.
It is nice, and we had some chippiness, in the Knicks Timberwolves game. Team that just recently had their trade, getting a little chippy there. It seemed it was all fun though, fun stuff. Former teammates, so that was cool. Even in today, there's the Heat and the Spurs game. Jimmy and Chris Paul got to yapping a little bit. Some older gentlemen trying to get themselves going in preseason because it's not the most exciting for these guys all the time. So they're just doing whatever they can to get the juices going. But yeah, we have stuff to talk about. So let's start with the De'Aaron Fox extension. So he turned down his extension, 165 million as per Shams, um, in hopes of making, I think, all NBA in order to receive a $350 million extension would be his max contract. So what are your thoughts on that first? What are your first thoughts on that? Hearing that news?
I mean, this is so common. Generally, I think it works out more often that if you turn down the extension and bet on yourself, you end up making more money. There will always be instances of players who like went for it and then got hurt that year and like lost all the money.
Yeah, the Nerlens Noel situations
Yeah,
sometimes happen, but generally, yeah, I think you're right. Like
generally you just
yeah,
make more money. So it makes sense. De'Aaron doesn't have a history of injuries. He's, like when I look at like Wembenyama, I'm really afraid somebody's just gonna like roll into his legs one day. De'Aaron Fox, like, nah, he's a little bit more compact. So I think he's not built like somebody that you worry about injuries with. So I think he's gonna be okay.
yeah,
And I think he's gonna make money. I don't know if he'll make all NBA though. He's
yeah.
good, but is he that good?
Yeah, like that all NBA teams are hard to make. Lots of guard depth, especially for a guard.
Yeah.
You have to be really well. You have to do really well during the season to make sure you make that team. So it'll be interesting to see if he does lock up that supermax extension that he's looking for. Do you think that this puts any pressure on the Kings to make a move to make sure that they are in still like winning contention? Because as we said, there's some teams coming back in the West this year. Memphis being one of them that are looking to take the spot that Kings had this previous year. So, do you think this should light a fire under them to get things going a bit, or you think they're in a good enough spot that you don't see Darian wanting out too badly?
No, I don't think he'll want out. You know, like if you're in line to make 165 million or 350 million, like people need to have that in their cap structure. And we're not in a place anymore where you can just bring a player in and once they're in, pay them and oh well, like you just pay the big salaries. It's like big salaries plus big penalties, big tax penalties for going over the second apron or whatever they call
Yeah,
it.
and harder to make to do roster construction too. So yeah,
Yeah. So um I kind of I think the Kings are safe in the sense that there's not going to be a lot of legitimate suitors for De'Aaron Fox. Um, I'm sure a lot of teams would like to have him, but can you fit him? Are you willing to sacrifice the players it would take to fit him? Um, and like, is De'Aaron Fox enough of a difference maker. Like, he's an incredibly good player. He's fringe all NBA. Is he the guy that you want to build your team around? Like, him and Sabonis I like, but him by himself, I'm not 100% sold on.
Yeah, no, I think it's a tricky one. So with that in mind, would you really look at them to even give out that supermax if he does become eligible for it? If he's not a certified All NBA player, is it something that the Kings kind of have to do to retain a star, or
Yeah.
do you think that can kind of hamper their roster construction in the future? Because it's going to be a big percentage of someone who might not be your number one player on the team to pay out. So
Well, he'll be like a 1A, 1B situation with Sabonis. So you want to retain him. You can't let him walk. Like, that's the other thing is if another team has cap space, that's a scary thought if you're the Kings. If they don't, you can try and play a little hardball, but chances are you're going to lose and just sign him for the contract anyways.
right.
Right. It just seems to be the way that every team operates in the
It's
NBA
usually
right
how it
now.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah. He's young enough. He's not aging out. He's not an injury risk. He's a fringe all NBA player. He's a guy you pay. He's a guy you pay. You just got to pay him.
Yeah.
You got to pay him. They're going to pay him.
Yeah, I think if you're the Kings, you kind of have to do that to just retain any type of star in that situation because you don't know when you're gonna get another one. It's not so often that many just ask to be in Sacramento. So if you find one that's close enough, I think you pay them and you deal with the consequences later and try to build around it. I think that's what's
Yeah.
gonna happen with the Kings. There are a couple of teams I have in mind, but until there's the actual noise that he might even consider leaving, I don't think there's any need to bring it up. Not quite yet.
No,
Um,
it's something to watch all year though.
Yeah. We'll monitor it, see where it goes, see if there's any disdain. Because there was a point in time, like when Halliburton was there, that there was a little tension between Fox and the front office, and it almost seemed like he was wanting out and wanted to go somewhere. But ever since they made the move to get Sabonis in and get a player that fits him more, he's been quite happy. So, and they brought in DeMar, who's a guy that he likes too. So I think that was another move to kind of keep him at bay, and keep him happy throughout the year.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Going on with the Sixers now. They have some health woes. Paul George hyperextended his knee, turned out to just be a bone bruise, which is good. So nothing too serious for Paul George. But it just brings up the question: are the Sixers going to be healthy at all throughout the year? They're going to struggle with this throughout the year, and how worried are we if they are going to have these health issues? We also know that Embiid recently came out and said he doesn't expect to play back-to-backs for the rest of his career. So with that in mind, with the Paul George injury happening, and knowing that Paul George tends to get hurt, knowing that Embiid tends to get hurt as well, Caleb Martin's not your healthiest player either. With that all in mind, how do we feel about the Sixers entering this season?
I mean, I think we talked about it when we previewed the Eastern Conference. One of the concerns with the Sixers is the depth. I don't trust their depth yet. I think they've got moves to make throughout the year. I think there will be players available to them at a really reasonable price as teams, go for Flag and other high-end prospects in this draft. I think somebody's gonna they're gonna pick up some G League guy who's gonna work, right? Every team seems to find one that just works and fits a need. So I don't like it. If I'm a Philly fan, I really don't like it. I really don't like where Embiid's at. This was the first and foremost concern you had when signing Paul George, was that what's the health of this team gonna look like? Tyrese Maxey's pretty awesome, but how far can he carry a team? We're gonna find out all these things, and it's gonna be a ride for Philly. And I think we actually said Philly pretty high, had pretty high hopes on Philly. I have a
Yeah, I think
feeling
we had them in that second tier.
yeah, I have a feeling they might be fighting to stay out of the play-in. Might be their fate this year. I think it's gonna be a tough year for Nick Nurse and co.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that way too. Like when you look at the depth of the team, it's not much there. And then yeah, when you factor in the health, they might be a matchup problem when they once they get to the playoffs. They might be
Yeah.
first year that it might flip for them where their season might be worse in their playoffs. Which is I think what they're aiming for, which is a good thing, but they might have to work a little harder to get in there. They might have to go through a playing game. They almost were in the playing last year as well. So it's not like they were too far off of it. And I think sacrificing some of that depth to get in Paul George, this is the Clippers' concern. I think also why they didn't go forth and pay him the money. They have Kawhi who has issues who they already paid, and they didn't want to double down. I think with Paul George and doing that as well. I think
Yeah.
you have Harden there too, who's older. So I think they're kind of managing the health concerns there on the Clippers, and I think Sixers were being a little more bullish on that, and then they might get it, they might pay for it in the end. But we'll see. It's still an interesting team for sure. The Maxi thing is definitely really interesting because he's going to be the one that's just going to have to be the steady constant and be there consistently throughout the year to run the offense and just keep the guys going and keeping everyone in check. I guess having a guy like Kyle there, even though he's not your main point guard anymore, but just having that guy in the locker room, he's usually okay playing with like second tier players, bench players. He usually lifts them up in a way that not many can, so that might help out as well. But yeah, they're gonna have to look for some more depth help, I think, throughout the year.
No, I agree. They got to they still have Kelly Oubre.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really going to be incumbent on Maxi and Oubre to like
He
get
might be
these
their
guys
one
through the
Iron Man.
season. Yeah.
He got hit by a car and he was just like fine a couple weeks later. So
Whatever, right? Cars ain't got nothing on Kelly Oubre.
apparently not. Apparently not. Yeah, that's on the Sixers, man. It's gonna be tough for them. It's gonna be tough for them. But we'll track that throughout the season. And with that said, I think we can get into our awards prediction, starting with the MVP. So we're taking all these odds from FanDuel and just seeing how we feel about them, seeing if there's guys that we think should be a little higher on the odds list or should be lower or just missing completely. So starting with MVP, here they have Luka is your favorite to win MVP this year. Shea to come second, Nikola Jokic third, your reigning MVP third. Giannis fourth, Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson round out the rest of the list here. What are your first thoughts on that MVP list?
It's weird to see an MVP list without LeBron or Steph Curry on it.
That is weird. That is shocking.
And I think the only reason we're not yet seeing Victor Wembanyama on it is that, San Antonio is probably going to lose a bunch of games this year.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, like, he should be on that list as well. But then all 6 of those guys should be on that list. So I think the MVP race is getting, wider every year and more interesting every year. So it's definitely going to be something that, like, we talk about all year. The national media talks about all year. The MVP race is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm in for it, but I'm not going to put money on it.
Yeah, this is not one I would really want to bet on this year. I think it's kind of resembles the state of the league right now. Like a lot of parity in the league. I think you're seeing a lot of parity within your stars as well. Yeah, looking at that list, we have Luka, and Jokic. Luka not even. I can't remember where he finished last year, but he wasn't. I don't think top 3 last year. But he did have that streak near the end that kind of pushed him into favor. And I guess his finals run this year is giving people a lot of confidence in him being something a little more this year. But I feel like we always do this with Luka every year to start the year, that we put him high up on the MVP list. The team starts off slow, and we knock him all the way down, and then he finishes off strong, and we raise him back up. I think we're going to see something similar to that this year as well. I don't think we're going to see anything too much different. I think Shea's a strong possibility for MVP again. It looks like he's added a little bit more off-ball play, which will only help him and OKC to further their offense. Just have taken a little bit of a load off of him on ball and then giving that to other guys and letting him relax a little bit on offense is good for him. I think will also increase his efficiency, which is already ridiculous. So I like that there. Giannis has kind of forgotten about these last couple years. Like I think we mentioned before, like he had a 50-point closeout game in the finals. That's rare. That's like a rare, very rare talent to have. So I think we should be tracking him a little bit closer for what they can do. Because if the Bucks are a top Eastern Conference team, it will primarily be because of how great Giannis is on both ends of the court. So
Yeah, 100%.
I think he has a real shot of re-entering that MVP discussion this year in a way that he hasn't in the last few years. Um, I think the rest of that list is all right. Like I think Anthony Edwards is there, but I don't think he's ready to take that step to be an MVP type player. I'm shocked that Tatum isn't there over like Jalen Brunson, but I guess that's that New York bump right now. Like there's no Celtic on this list right now, and that's pretty crazy to me. But if Edwards is there, I feel like Tatum should be there as well. Crazy for me to be saying backing up Tatum.
So I look at that list, and I would probably go with Luka. Now the reason is that I feel that at least Dallas added something significant this offseason that could help Luka with his numbers and with like the winning and ease. Like they added a trigger man in Clay, right? So with Clay there, I could see Luka's assists going up a little. I think his scoring stays the same, and like I think the team wins a little bit more, which is a big thing in the MVP race. It's like, are you leading a winning team, right? I think that's gonna help Shea a lot. Like they're gonna win a lot, but I think OKC is just gonna be mostly the same. Like I feel like they're going to resemble last year's team a lot, with everybody getting just slightly better, just only slightly better, right? But that's
Yeah,
all that team needs.
I think that kind
Yeah,
of works against Shea in that sense. You don't see
yeah,
that jump. Whereas with Luca, yeah, you would kind of see a little bit more of a jump if they stay steady in the top four. If you're top three, whoever's team out of all these guys is top three in their conference, they have the best shot of probably becoming an MVP this year.
yeah. And then Jokic is going to do Jokic things. His numbers will probably be relatively the same. Same with like Giannis. I see the Bucks winning more this year. Just like I think Dame's in a better place from
Yeah.
all indications. So I could see them winning more. Anthony Edwards, unless he's given a little bit more responsibility as far as like playmaking and ball handling, I'm not yet sold on it.
Mhm.
And Brunson is the only one on the list that, like, I like Brunson. I just don't think he's an MVP.
No, I don't think. I think that's just people feeling that New York could have a good regular season, and then they have to pick someone from that team, and it's
Yeah.
Brunson by default. But yeah, like you, I like Brunson. I like how he plays. I like how hard he plays and all that type of stuff. He has that New York heart. He fits them well. But I don't think he's like Tatum should be on this list.
Yeah.
Tatum really should be on this list. Which it's crazy. But yeah, I think I'm with you there. Like I think Luka's a strong candidate as Vegas has it to win this award. I see Jokic kind of falling out of favor. I think some fatigue is going to fit in. Like it was sitting in last year.
Yeah.
And I think this year it's going to be too much. I don't think he's going to win it this year. But I think Shea, Luka, and Giannis have strong cases this year. And maybe who knows? Maybe a Warriors surprise, maybe a Lakers surprise, and then LeBron and stuff enter the chat. But until that happens, I think they'll be out of it. Yeah, I think what's our next award here is the Rookie of the Year. And this one you kind of called your shot on this one before a draft happened. I'm pretty sure halfway through last season, you said Edie can be a factor in the NBA next year. And now it looks like a lot of people are agreeing with you. His fit in Memphis has looked great so far. He's able to do the little things. He's spacing out well. He's able to get his buckets. He's able to create impact in the post that he should be for his size. And it's been like a glove fit for Memphis so far. We'll see if that translates into the regular season. That's always the trick, but the early showings have been positive. So how do you feel about your guys like Edie leading the race there?
I mean, I think Edie's in the perfect situation in that like he's gonna get an opportunity to start like a lot of the games, right? Like they're gonna have to find a point where like I feel like the challenge with Edie will be does he close games? Is he good enough defensively to close games? Is he going to get played off the court in any way? But otherwise, like 7'3", 7'4", 300 pounds, really good touch around the basket. Memphis is led by a point guard. It's just going to be pick and roll spamming left and right. Guy's got an opportunity. He's got more of an opportunity than anybody else on that list already penciled in. Like, this guy's our starting center. We're going to run a lot of our offense through him. We know he can put the bucket, like the basket in the. We know he can put the ball in the basket and get a bucket.
It's late.
It is late. We know he can rebound. We know he can block shots. So he's going to get counting stats throughout the year more than the other guys. I think there's going to be a lot of like media attention around him. I feel really good about Zach Edey for Rookie of the Year. And I think coming out of the draft, you could have put money on him, and he was like a plus 1,600, not like a plus 350.
Yeah, he wasn't high. I feel for sure somebody like Donovan Cunningham would have been higher.
Yes, definitely. But like he's won College Player of the Year the last 2 years in a row. Like, he's more mature than a lot of these guys in that, like, he's a little bit older. He's got more mature body. He's ready for the role he's about to play. Yeah, honestly, I think it's Edey's to lose. Somebody's going to have to come and take it from him and surprise us and the whole NBA. But otherwise, like, I think the kid's going to put up like roughly probably like 20-10 season. Like, but the question is, will he stay on at the end of a game? Will he be good enough defensively to continue to play?
Yeah, I think for him, solely for the award, that won't be an issue. Like, I don't think he's gonna have to. I think he's in a situation where, unlike a Gobert or unlike some of these other bigs that have sometimes difficulty staying on court at the end of the games, he's not gonna be pressured to do that when they have Jaren Jackson on the court. So he's been a guy who can play the 5 in spurts, and they probably would like to close with Jaren Jackson at the 5, so they could play a little small and get a little bit more quicker if they need to. Unless Zach Edey is so dominant on the offensive end that they can't take him off, type of thing. I think that's how he'll play his way to staying on the court, is how dominant he can be offensively. I think that's kind of where he differs from Gobert and some of those other guys, is that they tend to get played off the court because they aren't able to punish the other team for being on the court as well. But if Zach Edey's able to do that on the offensive end, I think that's his path to kind of staying on the court. And I don't think there's any pressure for him right now. Like you said, he's in a perfect situation. He's on a team that is established. Most of the guys know their roles, and he just kind of has to fit in and not ruin the rhythm too much, which he hasn't so far. And I think that is going to be great for him. It's going to be great for his chances of getting this award, which, going into the draft, I definitely did not think, but I do think there's some other guys on here that have a strong case as well. I think Zachary on Atlanta, he's been he hasn't been talked about too much, too hard, but I feel like the times that I've seen him play, him next to Jalen Johnson is kind of interesting. If those are your wing guys, like if that's like your 3 or your 4 type of situation, I think that's very interesting to have next to like a Trae Young type, just having such athleticism and such scoring ability from the wing. Just athleticism coming from Jalen Johnson, you got the scoring from Zachary. I think that's something interesting that could be built in there. And I think sometimes when we look at these awards, it comes down to scoring and just how many raw points you could put up. And I think that's where he might be able to get his edge, maybe over a Zach Edey there, just because, as we say, Zach's going to play more of a role, and it might be a situation where Zachary kind of gets more chances to show his scoring prowess, and that might favor some voters at the end of the season. But outside of that, like this rookie class is truly not the most inspiring this year. Sorry to say. There's some guys here, but there's no one that really jumps out at you that's like, oh, this guy's gonna shine. Like even Alexander Sarr, who I do like. I like his game a lot, but I don't think he's going to be showing enough flashes to kind of get into that role. Someone like Reed Shepherd is interesting, though. I do like him on Houston. Playing under Fred VanVleet and all the other guards that they have there kind of maybe hampers what he might be able to do, but he does bring something a little bit different than the other guys, and I'm interested to see how Ime Udoka kind of integrates him into the fold.
Yeah, I mean, like you identified the one question I have with Reed Shepherd, which is like Houston's depth is so unreal. It's like, where does Reed, like, they had to play Amin Thompson at center to get him on the
just
court,
to get him on the court, just to give him some
right?
minutes.
You're definitely not doing that with Reed Shepherd. He chances are he's either Jalen Green's backup or Fred's backup, but like chances are he's a backup all year,
Yeah.
and like he's gonna have to play his way into a bigger role. Whereas like, yeah, Richier has the role, Edie has the role. There's a couple guys where just like Alexander Sarr
He has the
has
role.
like
Yeah.
the role as a starter, right? Ride or die. Like we don't
throw it
expect to be a
out.
good
Yeah.
team. We're just gonna throw these guys out there. But I feel like Houston has high aspirations this year. Like
They
Houston
do.
is a team to watch. They're gonna make some moves. They're gonna make that consolidation trade that you've been talking about. It's gonna happen at some point.
Yeah.
More than anything, it has to happen at some point because you can't pay all these guys. This is
You
what
can't pay.
OKC is up against. That's why they traded. One of the reasons they traded for Caruso, right, is that eventually they wouldn't be able to pay a Josh Giddey. So might as well get somebody on a good contract who plays a role.
Yeah, plays a role that you need immediately right now because Ime is looking to win. Fred's looking to win. Like those guys want to win now, and they want to restore some of that pedigree that Houston had. So it's been a while that they've been developing. I think the tricky thing is too is when you have all these young guys, you're not going to be able to develop them properly if you're going to keep them all together. They're not going to reach their potential if you can't play them. You can't find spots to play them in. So I think that's another reason why you kind of have to go with that consolidation route. Even with OKC, as you bring them up with Josh Giddey, he was starting to lose his his development as well. Playing next to Shea, playing next to Jalen Williams, taking that leap that I think was kind of unexpected, really pushed him down. And then they want to still play Dort. Casey Wallace was eating up some minutes because of his defense. They needed to play him because for defensive reasons. They couldn't play Giddey for those reasons. So I think just it hampers development when you have too many young guys and you don't have the proper guys around them. So I think with Houston, they're at a point now, like you say, they have to make that trade just to be fair to the guys that they have, find the core that they like, roll with those guys, and trade away the rest for whatever it may be, picks, better veteran fits, whatever can help you out in the immediate future. But I think that needs to happen for that team.
Absolutely.
Anything else before we move on to the next award? The rookies.
I'm sure there'll be like Jaime Vasquez of last year, where there will be a rookie that none of us are thinking about that's going to like play their way into this conversation. And whoever drafted them, good for you. It's going to be exciting.
Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Shout out to finding the one gem.
The one late gem. Yeah.
There is always one. I'm interested to see who that will be this year. So our next award that we have coming up is Defensive Player of the Year. This one's headline like Victor Wembanyama, a heavy favorite, heavy favorite. Then you have Chet and Bam tied for second there, Mobley in third, Rudy and Jaren Jackson rounding out the bunch. Initial thoughts on Defensive Player of the Year?
I'm surprised to see Chet so high up. Other than that, like I like this list. It makes a lot of sense. It's interesting that no guards are on this list. Like
unless
these
you're
are
Marcus
all
Smart for
bigs.
Boston,
Yeah,
you're not gonna. The guards don't get noticed. All bigs, all bigs,
all bigs. No OG Anunoby, no Marcus Smart, no Drew Holiday. These are all centers or power forwards who should be centers.
Yeah. I think as the year goes on, there's always some wing that fans just fall in love with, or the media falls in love with. Like 1 year it's Mikal Bridges and it's OG Anunoby. Then you had the Marcus Smart year. There'll always be like one wing. But yeah, to start off, it is kind of crazy that they're just so heavy on the bigs. Chet being up there is shocking to me too, but I think it kind of makes sense with I think OKC is one of the top defenses last year. I think Chet was a big part of that. So I think they're basing that in just the fact that they're gonna have a good defense. Chet's gonna be the anchor, and he's gonna put up ridiculous blocking numbers similar to Wemby, just on a more winning team. So I guess if you're looking at that, then that's maybe the way that you're gonna go there. Bam's always going to have the versatility, the versatility argument, but is he going to have the team to back him up? That seems to be the case. Like if the defense is in top five, if the team isn't like in the top five in the conference, then I don't know if they're going to really look at him. It is interesting though that he has gotten a lot more media attention this offseason from the Olympics and everything like that. I see him a little bit more commercial, so it seems like he's more on people's radar. More analysts seem to be putting him in that third spot when it comes to big, go Jokic, Embiid, and Bam now. It seems to be the consensus. So it's interesting to see that being pushed. So maybe he's having a little bit media attention that might push him into a award, and they might, like if Wemby was to get hurt or something like that, then maybe that one of these guys kind of round up. But the
It's
rest of that list there, Evan Mobley, yeah.
It's just funny, like a few years ago, like when Golden State was at the height of their powers, everyone was talking about like, oh, it's the end of big men. It's the end of big men as we know it. Like the big man is a thing of the past. The league's going small. It's going to be a shooting league. And like you look at this list of like defensive player of the year, they're all center bigs. Who was the last MVP who wasn't a center?
We've seen it, yes, because it's probably Giannis, and Giannis is still kind of plays.
Giannis is like a center. He's just kind of a center. Also, Giannis isn't on this list, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, Giannis not being on this list, you can make the case that he'll probably end up there over Jaren Jackson or over Evan Mobley. I could see that happening, or even Gobert. Yeah. I think the voters, it's kind of like Jokic. I don't think the voters are going to go for Gobert again. I think they're done. I think they're done with him for at least 1 year. They'll take a break.
Yeah, it'll be Victor. As long as Victor stays healthy and continues to put up his block numbers. The guy just like, he's got so much length and he knows how to use it, right? To disrupt everything that happens around the basket. He doesn't even have to be the heaviest guy. He's not the biggest, strongest, heaviest guy out there. He just knows how to use his length and get his hand in everyone's face. The fact that like last year he blocked like a Giannis power dunk. Like he bent, but he did not break in that moment.
He did not break. He didn't break.
That more than anything, any moment last year sold me on Victor's defense was like, okay, physically he's not in the same category as Giannis, but like the fact that he got his hand up there, disrupted the shot. It was supposed to be a power dunk. And like
we've seen
it
Giannis
didn't happen.
So many times,
yeah. Giannis put his shoulder into him, tried to knock him away, and couldn't do it. Yeah. Right? The kid absorbed it, kept his hand in the way, blocked the shot.
Yeah. I think to go to your earlier point about the Golden State thing, about how we thought the bigs were going to die out. I think what we did see though is a transformation in the type of bigs that became valuable. All these guys here are guys who can. I mean, now Bam can shoot a three, but all these guys here are guys who are versatile on both ends of the court. Like Victor, Chet, Bam, Mobley, except for Gobert, but Jaren Jackson Jr. All these guys aren't afraid to switch out to guards and guards. They'll use their length to guard smaller guys. You can play them in different types of schemes and they'll still be very effective. But I think what we did see die out from that Golden State era is like you're plotting big. I think Rudy Gobert is kind of the last, but he's special. He's a special one from that group who can move this field a little bit more than we give him credit for. And it's so impactful on the defensive end. Whatever team he's on has a solid defense that I think he makes this list almost every year. But I think, yeah, the traditional big kind of did phase out. Like you'll still see your Hartensteins here. You'll still see them in the league, but what they're going to bring to your team, I don't think is nearly the same as what they did in the past.
And yet we just went Zach Edey for Rookie of the Year. And he's
your traditional.
He's your traditional big. He's your closest thing to Shaq since Shaq, right?
But look what it takes to stand out in that perspective. You have to be a massive person who's just like, that's a once in a lifetime type of guy. Maybe two since Shaq happened. But,
Shaq. Let's give Roy Hibbert some due. Right?
Roy Hibbert had a year or two. Yeah.
He had a year or two here. He was pretty good. Come on.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Anything else on Defensive Player of the Year?
I know I was talking about like wings and forwards, but I think a center's gonna win it. Yeah,
I think a center's gonna win it too,
yeah,
especially if that's what we classify Wembanyama as. I think the only thing that stops him from
yeah.
this award is injuries. If he doesn't make that, was it 65 game threshold? Um, as long as he's healthy, this is his to lose. Okay,
I think this
next
is gonna
one.
be. I think Victor's name and the awards are gonna be a theme for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, it'll be the Victor Award soon. Like you said, MVP could have been a realistic possibility, not in the near future for sure.
Oh yeah.
Um, he's gonna creep up on another list that we have here, another award this year, which I was shocked to see him on the list, other than Defensive Player of the Year. But he popped up again. This might be the Wemby Award soon. It's gonna be Wemby everything soon. So our next one here is Six Man of the Year, which I think is a hard one to kind of call before the season starts. 'Cause I feel like rotations are so much in flux. Injuries happen, and then it just changes up so much throughout the year. That's kind of hard to get a feel for who the true six man will be. So I think what these Vegas FanDuel has going on here is they're taking what worked last year. So Malik Monk and Nasri, I think were your finalists last year. So they're keeping them in the fold. They're going with safe bets like Dante DiVincenzo, who's also a great six man last year, who started a few games. Benedict Mathurin, who we know can be explosive, and TJ McCollum as well, since we got DeJounte Murray out on the Pelicans. Um, I think the first thing that stands out to me, I mean, I got the Heat jersey on, so I might as well talk about it, is the Hami Jaquez Jr. being in the Six Man of the Year race, and I think that is actually something that is viable for him, and something that he should definitely strive towards. Because I think he's going to be the main guy running that second unit. You're going to have Hero and it looks like Rozier together in the first unit. So, and you have Jimmy. So Hawkins has kind of played like this Jimmy light type player. So I think that's what they're going to kind of have him do in the second unit. And if he's able to do that, and we know Spo likes to close within the games if he can. It's been hard to get him there, but he has been able to play his way into that type of role. And if he is doing that, he'll be playing big minutes off the bench, and then the production can come. And I can see the case for him being at least considered for the Six Man of the Year award. Yeah, I think that's my first thoughts off that.
Yeah, so I saw him, and to me, he's got an opportunity. To me, he's got an opportunity to steal a starting spot, though. Like if I'm Nikola Jovic or I'm Tyler Hero, like I'm watching my back more than anything. Like Jimmy's versatile enough to play the power forward, right? So my question is Hami a second unit player or is he a first unit player? And I think his ceiling, like I think his destiny is first unit.
Yeah.
And I see Jimmy playing the power forward and I see Hami playing the small forward. And Jovic being the one who's toolsy but misses out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's just me. I'm a distanced observer of the Miami Heat.
No, but I think there's something. I think there's something to that for sure. Because I think it's similar to when Tyler won his Six Man of the Year award. He was placed in that Six Man of the Year award, six man role, but we kind of knew he was working towards being a starter. I think this
Yeah.
is kind of like a similar situation where we know Hawkins is going to be the six man this year, but moving forward, who knows what the future holds? Is Jimmy even going to be on the Heat next year? So I think looking into the future, I think that's for sure something they're going to look into, and definitely why I say they like to find ways for him to close. I think that's where your Jovic questions come in. I think Spo likes to just start like a Jovic who can space the floor next to Bam, do some of the things to ease the load on Bam, play bigger, guard bigger guys. It's not lose too much defensive versatility there. But I think he likes to close with a guy traditionally that plays more like a Hawkins, who's kind of like you could do it all type of player. So I think if you're Jovic, I think if you're Hero for sure, if you're having an off shooting night, and if Hawk has his three ball, I think that's going to be the big thing for him. If he can get his three ball to a consistent point, or even mix in a little more pull ups to stay more of an on ball threat, then I think Tyler Hero, yeah, will definitely be one to be looking out for his role on the team there. So I think even though you're outside perspective, I think you're onto something with that as well.
I know you said we weren't going to do Coach of the Year predictions, but I kind of feel like Like if I were to put a prediction in, it would be for Spole. I feel like this is the year. Like I don't know why, but I just have this feeling that like the Heat are going to be a top 4 in the East team. Like maybe they sit where um where Philadelphia should sit,
Mm.
and like they overperform a little bit. They don't trade Jimmy. They add to this group. Like the Heat to me just aren't a team that is going to like get to a point where they say to themselves like, "Hey, we got to trade Jimmy Butler," and "Hey, should we explore trading Bam?" Because we should think about the future and reloading and around guys like Tyler and Hami Jaquez. And I just think that anytime they're close to that point, they just play really well.
They're like, who's play better?
Yeah, so like I would have put my money on Spole just finally being the year that Spoelstra gets a coach of the year, and Miami just like overperforms early
Right.
season expectations.
Right,
Like,
because I think the expectations right now for the Heat is extremely the lowest it's probably been in the Jimmy era. I don't think
yeah,
anybody's really looking at this team to do much at all. And
no.
I feel like going into the season. I mean, I just watched one of the preseason games that happened today as we record this. But they're trying to do new things with the team, like offensively, Bam shooting a little more threes. Hero's trying to accept more of an off ball role. Rozier, they're going to let Rozier be Rozier. It looks like, and then Jovic is kind of being that glue guy who can move the ball and shoot, pass, do whatever you need to do on that end of the floor. I think it's interesting stuff. I think they're more locked into what. 'Cause I think we forget that going into last season, the Dame thing was really weighing on that team. Like a lot of those guys thought they're going to be traded going into that training camp. So I think that's not there this year. Everyone knew they're going to be back. I think they have a mindset that's a little bit different than last year. I'm more optimistic about their season outlook this season than I was last season going into the season for sure. I think I think expectations are low. So I think your coach of the year assessment, it might be the year for him. I've just been so burdened by him not getting it that I'm not even gonna get my hopes up. I'm not even gonna attempt to. Um, but sticking on the sixth man of the year, who else here kind of stands out to you from this group here?
Well, I knew we were doing awards today, and to me it was Dante. Like he showed me in that Knicks game that it might be a year that he plays with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Um, he's definitely not going to supplant Anthony Edwards throughout the year. He's not enough of a ball handling guy to supplant Mike Conley and Rob Dillingham and take like the point role. And then yeah, I just see him going out there and just filling it up. I just think he's going to be a lot like Malik Monk last year. He's just
Yeah.
going to get on the court and put the ball in the basket and just like fill up the stat sheet. And
And that's
people are going to
usually
love
what
him.
wins you the award. Yeah, and that's usually what
Yeah.
wins you the award. The guy that can come off the bench and just fill it up. I think
Yeah.
Dante's a pretty good bet for this one. Like if I was betting on this award, I think I would put my money on Dante, especially if we're looking at the two Minnesota guys between Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo. I think I'll go Dante um, over there for similar reasons. Like I think even before the trade happened, I was looking at Rob Dillingham to be like that 6 man role for them. But I think since Dante moves, he flies into that role just nicely. I think kind of like how we talk about Hami, I think Dante's going to be a guy that they're going to try and close with if they can. Like he just has that fight to him. He fights, competes on both ends of the court. If
Yeah.
they can get away with it, I think they would like to just play Dante and Anthony Edwards as your two backcourt guys if they can. If you have enough playmaking elsewhere, or if Anthony Edwards becomes that playmaker. So yeah, for sure, I think Dante should kind of be the favorite for this award. I think that was going to be my my take too. So we're in line. We're on line with that one.
Well, moreover, right? Like Minnesota should have a good secondary unit between Dante, Rob Dillingham, Naz Reid,
Yeah.
among others, right? Like they should be a good second unit, and a good second unit that performs is going to make your 6 man look better, right? Just like a good starting unit always makes your star look better. So yeah, I think it's Dante. Like he's the one I feel good about.
Yeah. I think
And I like
yeah.
it when he yells at, coaches from teams that just traded
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. That's always fun. I love that.
Yeah.
We love that. I think that wraps it up. Like I said, I think that's gonna do it for the awards. Before we head out though, you want to give any shouts to any awards that we didn't talk about, like Coach of the Year? I guess you gave your shout to Spo, but any other coaches on your mind there?
Um, no, not really. Just because like Coach of the Year tends to go to the team that overperforms expectations, and think I think most teams, unless like Detroit is suddenly like a top 3 team, like I think most teams are kind of expected to do what the group think is expecting
Yeah.
them to do. There's also like most improved, that's often role. So like there's a guy like Josh Giddey has a new role on a new team. He could be in line for it. But then there's also like natural improvement, right? And what does a Victor Wembanyama look like in year 2? Like he's such an interesting player. And like I said it last year, he was a guy that like the media loved him so much and I wanted to not like him, right?
Yeah, you were pretty. Yeah.
And I think I've come to be the guy who's like, hey, Victor Wembanyama, this guy's like, he's the next great thing. I think he
Actually,
is. Like
yeah.
he's pretty amazing.
Let's stay
Yeah.
on most improved. 'Cause that is one that I did want to talk about, and we didn't get to it as yet. But I think
Okay.
the Wembanyama thing is real. Like he is the favorite to win the, the award right now. Which
Jeez.
shocking to me. But I could see the case for it where he did have a historic rookie season last year. So I think it's kind of hard to improve on that. And I'm not like a fan of them always doing the first and second year play. Like they're supposed to improve. Like that's their
Yeah.
they're drafted for their potential. They're going to improve. That's generally what's supposed to happen. But I think the case for Victor, if you're gonna make it, is that he might just turn into a superstar. Like he might just be a superstar next year. So if he's making that type of leap usually gets rewarded by NBA voters and media voters alike. So I think he's definitely one to look out for. On this list that really stuck out to me, I mean, Kaminga too being high up there, I wasn't really paying attention to that, but I think yeah, he's going to step into a bigger role, so he'll have that chance to do more, and we saw flashes of it last year. But the Josh Giddey one is interesting to me. I think he could set himself up nicely to win this award as well. Because further down that list, we see like a guy like Jalen Johnson. I think he kind of had his improvement too. He improved too much last year. He was too good last year for that to really stick this year, but. I think a guy like Giddy getting traded out of OKC, getting more of the keys to do what he wants to do on offense and having free reign, I think is going to do well for his type of game. Not having the pressure to be a playoff team anymore or to compete in that type of way. I think for Giddy, I think this can be a real year where he takes a true step forward and could be a front runner definitely for this award.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this award to me is like new opportunity award or like you say, second year player award. Um so I think right now, by all indications, it should come down between Giddy and his new opportunity and Wembanyama and is he ready to be a superstar?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Uh,
Or maybe Kaminga could shock too and have a really crazy year too, and he vaults himself into that discussion too. I think same thing with Jalen Williams. I think he just did too much. He was too good last year to kind of
yeah.
get the reward this year. He almost won it last year, so I think it's kind of hard to to kind of win it twice.
Continue to
Um,
grow that quickly. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, now I think we talked about all the awards that was planned out. Anything else before we head out?
Um not really. Just I hope there's some shocks like Sacramento teaches DeMar how to shoot a 3 and he becomes the most improved player at 35 years old, right?
Let's give it to one of the older guys for once.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be cool. So awards rarely go the way that like you think they will at the beginning of the year. This is why like it's sports books love them
Yeah.
because you get excited,
money
you
maker.
bet in them now, you lose a lot of money, right?
Mhm.
Like the season hasn't started, and it's certainly going to throw some twists and turns. It's certainly going to throw up some surprises, and guys are going to get hurt, and that'll be the most unfortunate part. But guys will get hurt, and that's going to shape the awards race all year long.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think
just
that's right.
yeah, let's get some real regular season basketball going though.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
next time we talk, we'll be recording on opening night. So we will have most likely seen, seeing as my kids have to go to bed so late, especially my daughter. um, seeing as that's the case, it seems we probably will get at least an Eastern Conference game in before we record. So there will be some regular season NBA basketball for us to at least talk about next next week. But until then, thank y'all for hanging out with us. This is the NBA Hangout presented by Playbook Sports. I'm Brandon. You can follow me at BJAY93_. You can follow Dave here every week. We're on YouTube on the Playbook Sports page. Like and subscribe there. Find us on all your pod stuff. Thank y'all. Peace.